These guys hit the guy with a closed fist. They admitted hitting him, the guy with a
We
closed
saw
fist.
it
So
on
you
the
can.
videos. We
Oh,
saw it
this
on
is
the
crazy.
camera of the one of the neighbors
Yeah,
that caught
yeah.
the incident.
Well, actually, it was a police cam in the neighborhood.
Was it a police cam?
Tyre Nichols, crazy story. 3 former Memphis police officers just walk out free after being charged with deletion in a brutal beating of Tyre Nichols. An entire country is asking now, how did this happen? A jury just found them not guilty of all 3 charges, even though we all watched this horrific body cam footage. I don't know what was going through their mind when they were doing that. But guys, let's take a look at what happened. Fayus.
The jury of your peers have found you not guilty on all charges with these matters. The court will enter the judgment sheets accordingly, and this will conclude your matter that's before the court.
Now to developing news we're following tonight. 3 former Memphis officers have been acquitted in the deadly beating of Tyre Nichols. In 2023, 19-year-old Tyre Nichols ran away from officers during a traffic stop. When officers caught up to him, he was pulled from his vehicle, pepper sprayed, tased, and later caught by 5 officers who then beat him severely. He died 3 days later. State charges are still pending against 2 other officers. The 3 officers who were acquitted today, Darius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justice Smith, may still spend time in prison. They were convicted on some federal charges last year.
Crazy story. Crazy story. This isn't just another court case, man. We covered this a while back and we broke it down. I remember it's one of the craziest stories we had early beginnings of the Double Thought show. Some people even subscribed because of that video. Let's break this down. What really happened, what was said in court, and also maybe about policing in general, and maybe accountability. So we covered this a while ago, man. 2 videos. We had 2 long formats, 130 and 133, on the show number 21 and 26. And now we are at 262. Sorry, why do you say? I said 21 and 22nd. And we're now at 262. So it's a very long time ago. We have a bunch of videos as well covering this, breaking it down in smaller parts, because we covered quite a lot of angles. We broke down the body footage first, the wild scenes, the police ignoring it all, how it went downhill, how Black Lives Matter covered this, whether this is whether proper police training would have solved this problem or saved his life, BLM exploiting it. So we covered this quite extensively back then. And one of the things that was clear was these guys were just, hammering on a guy that was clearly, he was caught. Yeah. They arrested him. They started pepper spraying him. He decided to run for it, which back then I think we didn't agree with what he did. But hey, sometimes some people run and fight. There are different responses to threat. He decided to run. They ran after him, caught up to him, and that started hammering. It looked crazy. But don't take it for my word. Go watch the video yourself, or what I will show you is the testimony of one of the guys who got arrested.
They have, especially since now that he is testifying against the other 3 officers. And one thing that we continue to hear Martin say in his testimony, we lied and exaggerated to justify what we did.
Emmett Martin, a former member of the Memphis Police Department's Scorpion Unit, describing the deadly encounter that led to the unit's demise and Tyre Nichols' death. Martin testifying for the prosecution in the federal trial of Darius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith, laying out how he was the first to see Nichols speed up to make it through a red light and gave chase. Martin admitting he didn't know how fast Nichols was going, but that a chase for a traffic violation was against MPD policy. It would be the first of several policy violations, Martin testified, he and other officers committed that night, describing how he, Demetrius Haley, and Officer Preston Hemphill surrounded Nichols' car, yelling, "Get the expletive out of the car and get on the ground. I'm going to tase your expletive." Martin said Nichols was never resisting and there was no reason to tase him, which Hemphill did. Martin says by the time they caught up with Nichols, who managed to run away, Tadarius Bean and Justin Smith had him on the ground, hitting him with a closed fist. He said Desmond Mills took out his baton and started hitting Nichols 3 times on the arm. And that was against policy since Nichols was not a threat. Martin admitted he should have stepped in, but instead he said, "I punched him in the face 5 times with a closed fist." When asked why he did it, Martin said, "I was mad. I was already on edge prior to even getting there. We tried to get him in custody and it wasn't working. He ran and that's what happened." Martin said Haley delivered a vicious kick between Nichols' torso and head. Martin said he also added to the kicks, saying Nichols' body jerked. He admitted kicking is not a trained police technique. One thing Martin maintained, out of all the officers on the scene, no one told the other to stop or pull back. By the time their Lieutenant Dwayne Smith showed up, he says no one mentioned the punches and kicks they had delivered to Nichols, saying if they did, they would have been charged. Instead, they told him Nichols was high, something they didn't have evidence of, and that he was driving into oncoming traffic and got out of his car swinging. Martin saying they had to justify his actions to justify theirs. Martin also testified to a code that was a general understanding. I'm not going to tell on them, and I know they're not going to tell on me. Not going to put them in a situation where they get in trouble. It was an understanding. Basically, we did what we needed to do. I wasn't going to tell on them, and they weren't going to tell on me.
And they were still found not guilty.
Yeah, 2nd degree. So what did they were? Let me go down a little bit. So the charges for these 3 guys were 2nd degree deletion, aggravated assault, kidnapping, and official misconduct.
Hey,
Not
man.
guilty on all charges.
KaiR, I remember when we were showing this video a long time ago right now. So if you're talking about the 20s, episode 20s, 21 and 26, I think you said.
Yeah, this happened in January 2023. So
it's like a long time ago. And I remember when we looked at the videos, it was clear that they were using excessive force.
yeah,
The dude couldn't fight back.
it's 5 versus 1, 6 versus 1. It was.
Didn't they
They were
stand
holding
him
him up. They were
Didn't
standing him up
They stood him up at one point.
like
and
a
just
body
started-
bag.
Yeah. And so, you know what you don't want in a country, KaiR? You want in a country, in any country, in order to have stability, you can't be having vigilantes, because vigilantes are created when people perceive the system as not being equipped to properly handle injustice, and unlawful things.
Yeah.
So it was clear abuse of power. That's not standing your ground. That's not reasonable force. They were punching him and kicking him tased him,
Hit him with a baton.
hit him with a baton, stood him
Yes,
up,
wow.
punch him. That in no way, shape, or form can constitute legal, or at least reasonable measures. Now, the thing about the law is that you can do something wrong, but it needs to be qualified. So it's all about qualification, right? So the way they probably handle this case, like almost certainly, is that they went through the facts and circumstances of that day, what happened, who did what were the who hit who tased who, etc., and then based on that, they have to determine whether those actions constitute first degree, second degree, is it manslaughter, is it, and it could be that it cannot be qualified as third degree, but it can be qualified as first degree, for example.
Yeah.
In this case, however, KaiR,
Ain't no way.
ain't no way.
Ain't no way. Ain't no. Not even aggravated assault.
No, that's no.
Not even aggravated assault. This.
But what do you think is the consequence? What are the consequences for this decision? In the future, police officers will use this as case law.
Yeah.
And say, hey, in that instance, you found this. So in this instance, you should reach the same conclusion.
Yeah.
We only just contacted him with a sharp
Close
tool
fist.
3 times.
Your close fist. These guys hit the guy with a close fist. They admitted hitting him, the guy with a close
We
fist.
saw it
So
on the videos. We saw
this
it on
is
the
crazy.
camera of one of the neighbors
Yeah.
that caught
Yeah.
the incident.
Well, actually, it was a police cam in the neighborhood.
Was it a police camera?
It was a police cam, yeah. So they have those mobile
Yeah,
police
yeah.
cams, right? Where they move around. So that's how they caught it. But yeah, this is quite crazy. So one thing. So this is what you see here is. I think we said it last time as well, right? Because after this happened, BLM's response was we need to defund the police. They didn't actually highlight the fact that these police they didn't actually try to pin out the fact, because I think if it would have let me go straight to what I want to say. If these guys were white, BLM would have approached this differently.
Yeah.
Which points out the fact that usually BLM only finds Black Lives Matter when there's white lives involved.